Hey guys, it's Dave. Today we are going to do my first long form video in terms of we're going to start it today and end it probably in 3-4 weeks. I am going to do a propagation substrate showdown. I know it's been done before, but I haven't been wholly satisfied with how they've been done. Nothing at all wrong with how people have done it. It just means it's not how I would have done it. So I guess I think I can do it better. I don't know. I know I can do it differently. And how I'm going to do that is we have a smorgasbord here. We've got Monstera siltepecano. We've got Philodendron Brazil. We've got Epipremnum mangula. We have Hoya finlaysoni. And we have my personal favorite, Hoya Jennifer. And what we're going to do, let me get you adjusted, is propagate these in the following substrates. Fluval stratum, something I have been skeptical about, not impressed with the price at all, but I found a brand new bag thrift shopping, so I'm going to throw that in there. Maybe I'll be surprised. It seems like it would just be another water propagation, kind of like I use perlite, but we will see. I would love to be surprised. We're here to learn. Tree fern fiber. I imagine that works fantastically. I know that there are Hoya growers that use this for their more difficult to root Hoya. I don't have any in my collection that are difficult. The price is sky high, in my opinion. If you know my substrate, I like to do things as cheaply as possible, but in New Zealand, they bring in helicopters to extract the trees to do as little damage to the forest as possible. It's very limited on how many trees they can take out. It's very, very well regulated. Think the United States and then the exact opposite. The exact opposite. Then we're looking at just pure cocoa chip, which is if I lived in Florida still and we're growing in a nursery or outside, I would probably do that on a regular basis. Then my soilless mix, that is the cocoa chip, the cocoa coir, and number 3 perlite. That's what I do almost all of my Hoya in, except for the thin-leafed ones or a Hoya that maybe I'm propping because it looks dehydrated, maybe there is a root problem. Those I do in number 3 perlite. Sphagnum moss, just because it's a very common one to use. I don't like to use it for Hoya because the roots get so entangled in that sphagnum moss. Real pain in the butt. And then for you, and only for you, because I have given up on this long ago, water. I hate water propagations. I will do it and I expect to see water roots that are weak. I'm going to transfer them into my normal soil mixture, and they're going to do poorly and they're going to go limp and a lot of them won't survive. That's been my experience anyway, so I don't like it. I know many people use it and have great experiences. I just don't. But keeping an open mind, I will try it. We'll compare it. Holy smokes if that didn't take a minute. But I guess if this is the hardest I work today, I'll be in good shape. Let me orient the camera, give you some first impressions, and then we'll be moving on to a 1-week checkup. Okay, here are where things stand. I put everything in water except for Jennifer. Forgive me, it's just too special a plant to risk it on a propagation technique that I have abandoned because I do not like it. What else? The fluval stratum, it's great. It's super heavy. It'll definitely hold the plants in there. If you bury a leaf underneath it, a delicate leaf, you'll destroy it for sure. Sorry, Monstera siltepecano. Tree fern fiber, big surprise for me. Well, one, very easy to work with for the Hoya. For the Epipremnum and so forth, you're going to have to find a way to kind of wrap it like you would sphagnum moss. A challenge. I did not enjoy it at all. What surprised me was, as fluffy as everybody shows it, That bag does not go far. It compresses when wet much more than I was expecting it to. But I can see if it works well, if I ever get that tricky Hoya, I'll certainly sterilize what I have here. I will be using that just for ease, and it holds the Hoya in really well. Otherwise, I've got the array here. I'm going to keep them in the obviously identical conditions, identical light, warmth, etc. I will keep them evenly moist, and it's going to be a weekly check-in. I would expect that some of these will probably maybe have some resistance a week from today. Today is Wednesday, June 20 something. Anyway, it'll be July the next time we meet. Till then, be well. Well, hello friends. Welcome to Mid-Progress Propagation Update. It's been 3 weeks since I chopped and propped into various substrates, and today we've been doing this section without recording. I don't know how that happened. It was a technical malfunction that could have been anybody's fault. Literally anybody's fault. So, brief recap. I chose 3 weeks because I have seen some propagation videos that go out 2 months, 3 months. I don't think that's useful information if you want to know which substrate works best, fastest. And don't we all want to propagate the fastest? Otherwise, we wouldn't be watching this video or making it. Who cares, right? So three weeks seemed like a good judge. I knew that the Hoya would be well rooted enough, probably in anything, to be potted up. And if I sacrificed some Brazil, Monstera Siltepecano, hopefully not the Mandula, that Perpendum Mandula, because I do want to turn that into a big plant. We haven't gotten to that one yet, but let me show you some results. These are water roots, and I hope you can get a sense of how translucent those are. So while they're kind of long and look impressive in terms of that, if that's all we were judging water propagation on, I would say pretty good success. These are super weak roots compared to, let me just grab, this was in, goodness me, pure cocoa chunks, which is a really good substrate if you soak your pots or have a greenhouse. Look how white and thick they are. Much, much stronger root system. And then grown in how I usually grow any thicker stemmed Hoya, that's just in my soilless potting mix. Those also look really, really good. So those are my two favorites so far. They're both very, very inexpensive ways to do it. This is the sphagnum moss with Fitchii. And while the root growth looks good, it's probably, I'm sorry, very, very shaky. I'm stretching out. It is not worth the hassle to me of trying to get all of that sphagnum moss out of the roots. One, these are really delicate roots. It just seems so unnecessary to me. If you use sphagnum moss, leave me a comment. There are obviously benefits that outweigh what I would call the deficits for this. So not something I would do. I know that Harley G would just take a whole plug of sphagnum moss and put it in her soil substrate. So I tried that with a couple of Hoya and they rotted out almost immediately. She also manages to grow plants in planters without drainage holes. So I don't know how she does it. Doesn't work for me. At the end of the day, that is really all that counts. It doesn't work for me. Jennifer. So Jennifer is a faster rooting plant for me and a faster growing plant than it is for most people. I think I just got genetically lucky. Here it is in tree fern fiber, which I did not, for some reason, didn't put the Fitchii in tree fern fiber. I think it's because I had started that project so late in the day, and with long COVID, I just started fading and losing my concentration. So I think that's what it was. I would say the rooting in this is good. It's fine. It's no better than in any other substrate, and it was a real struggle to get the tree fern fiber separated. Maybe you could throw that in as a whole plug. It seems to hold an awful lot of moisture to do that though. So I would say that depends on your conditions, whether you're growing in terracotta or not, like I am. But even though I do grow in terracotta, on mature plants, not on young plants, I probably wouldn't do that. I know for certain I wouldn't spend the money. No way. And it's expensive to extract trees by helicopter. So I'm not criticizing why it's expensive, but I certainly wouldn't spend the money when there are other avenues that do equally well. This is in pure cocoa chunk. Did I already show that one? I may have. So for soil-based ones, very long, healthy roots. This is what I grow. Every Hoya that you have seen that has a thicker stem and thicker leaf or leaves, they go into just its permanent substrate. And I have the sphagnum moss. Again, it's fine. Way too much hassle. The fluval stratum, also fine. It was terrible on the Brazil. Very disappointing. It's okay on the Hoya. Would not use that again. And then the other way that I grow plants is in perlite. This is the Fitchii. Very, very good roots. The Fitchii does not root out as quickly as Juniper. And I'm being repetitive, but... And then we have the Juniper. I leave all the perlite on. No harm in that for me. I've never had any trouble. Let me turn her around. So, really good. I usually reserve perlite for thinner leafed Hoya, thinner stemmed Hoya especially. There is a risk that those really thin stems in a soilless substrate can wither and die. And then if you're doing one node cuttings like this, you're done. I mean, it's not the end of the world, but if it's a valuable plant, and I value Juniper highly, but if it's an expensive plant, I would show caution for sure. In fact, I would make sure that I'm doing it in the perlite. I'm gonna be completely honest with y'all, and I thought about this while I was potting up all those Hoya. I thought about not admitting that the technological difficulty I was having, that might have been my fault. And that's all I'll say. Might have been. Here we have Epiprimnum mandula. This is from Plant Haven, Toronto. Let's take a look at what we have in perlite. Again, it's only been 3 weeks, but that's the point of this video. I would not have spared any Hoya for the making of this, and I won't spare any of the mandula, but the other plants, I don't really care if they survive being repotted. This one I do. And that's pretty nice. And this aerial root grew down into the perlite. That's for 3 weeks. Very happy with that. And then we'll go with the loser so far has been fluval stratum across the board, but let's see how. Let's get a fresh empty container. And we have that baby root, call that a barely root. And we have a pretty decent one. So not bad at all. Between the two, you can't say, you know, it's just per cutting. So I was saying in the part of the video that I wasn't recording that I was talking to a friend of mine who grows on a much larger scale than I do. And we were talking about how odd it is. I was talking about this experiment and how there can't be any definitive experiment, even within the conditions of my home. From the same plant, you can have one vine you chop up and another vine on that same plant. And one will take off, one won't. On one vine, you can have parts of it that will grow better than others. When I was doing the Jennifer, I was mentioning that I have seen a lot on YouTube that people don't like to get mid-cuts. And for me, give me the mid-cut. The top cut is the least likely to grow well, in my experience. That mid-cut has a beefy stem. It's full of growth hormone or something. I don't know, but it wants to put out a new growth point and leaves and roots and go. And whereas sometimes the top cuts, even with a good healthy leaf, I just didn't know, well, top cut gone. You know, it died that quickly. So anyway, neither here nor there. Well, it's here. It's relevant in that there can't be any sort of definitive thing. But to do a bunch of plants like I'm doing today, I can draw conclusions. And so far the conclusion I've drawn is I would never spend the money on this. That's me. You may have a very different experience. You know where the comments are. I would love to hear it. I read all those comments, and I'm a small enough channel that even though I get a lot of comments, I can respond to them all. And the follow-ups. And the emails. And I sure appreciate when some of you send pictures of your collection and stuff. Love it. There are some very, very talented growers on this channel. I do not know why you're watching me. You seem to have things well in hand. This is not looking great. This is in sphagnum moss. I really, all right. I'm not happy about how this looks, because this is, like I said, this is a plant that I certainly care about. I mean, not that all's lost. Let's see why it looks so poorly. This leaf looks good. There's the root. Not great. But again, that's one cutting. This leaf, do you see the yellow there? That's a really very poor sign. The third one that looks the worst has the best roots. I don't know. So got a point there, and the one down there. For 3 weeks, that looks pretty good. Sphagnum moss is a heck of a lot easier to deal with in a epipremnum than it is in a Hoya. That, I guess you didn't get to see me undo the Hoya. Even with those smaller root system, it was already a nightmare. It was just a nightmare. My friend, who's a big-time grower, is giving up sphagnum, or has, maybe even a couple of years ago. We were talking about growing in pond, growing in sphagnum moss, how it can go well for quite a while until it doesn't. You know, Miro's pulling all of his plants out of pond, and it turns pretty quickly. So she's got a lot of work to do getting plants transplanted and so forth. Then we have tree fern fiber, which has been, ooh, look at that, 2 growth points. So I will be gentle with this, and the leaf looks good. They do have a kind of a yellow stem, so maybe I was exaggerating the demise of that other one. I'm just going to put this right on the table for now. Oh, I know what this was. A leaf rotted off of this, and I pulled it out of the box a couple days ago when I watered this. That's what that was. So, tree fern fiber, the Wonder Substrate. Is it worth all the hoopla? Well, there's one. I'd call that a big fat no. And I'm going to get some thumbs down if I report my findings with tree fern fiber, because people are mad about this stuff. Just absolutely mad. Especially in the Hoya world. And all I can do is just wonder, like, why did we need another substrate? They already will root in a plastic bag with moisture and do great in there. I think so far what I've learned is I would use this, or I would use that fluval, like in a mix, maybe use this lightly in one that gets thirsty. Or, I use a lot of terracotta, so I could see doing that. My friend said to mix this in with Substrate. She's found it to be good rooting, but then she realized there may have been fertilizer involved. So the plants are growing faster. So we kind of wrote that one off. But this has great weight. I mean, it's so expensive. I wouldn't buy it just to mix into like small little cups to help hold them down, but that's what I'm going to use it for. I don't think the Monstera siltepecano is going to have some great effect that this didn't. And again, I mean, leave the comment, but the point isn't what this would look like in 2 months. I don't care. Any substrate is going to look good after 2 months. I would hope you're getting your plants good roots after 2 months. I mean, there's going to be that rare plant that, and not rare like market rare, but that really, really, really is a slow rooter. And we've all got those. But I'm talking just in general, after 2 months, you should have a robust root system, no matter how you started it. One person's opinion. What's it worth? I don't know. What'd you pay for this video? Okay, water roots. We have some gross sheath on there. We have those little bitty tiny, and we have this little bitty tiny. So the worst. They're not translucent and as thin as they were on the Brazil, which were kind of impressively long but weak, just really poor roots. But I mean, this is not what I would want to see after 3 weeks. Absolutely not. So the winner on this one is very clearly the perlite followed by sphagnum moss. So I will get these repotted up all together in perlite, and then join me for the Monstera siltepecano. That looks cute, and it will do well, I am sure. I will put it in one of the 7 prop boxes I have on the main floor of our house. And by prop boxes, I don't mean the little tall, I mean like you're putting a family's worth of sweaters away for the winter. I have a few of those, and I'm gonna get myself organized this weekend. You just watch. I am listening to a podcast called Let's Talk Hoya with Adam Notdude, his business partner Lydia, and then their friend, I don't remember her name. And they're talking to my hero Doug Chamberlain of Vermont Hoya. And this is from a couple of years ago, but he is discussing how when he moved from his old house to the one he currently lives in, nothing he used to grow in worked anymore. So he had to switch everything out to cocoa chip, which I love to grow in, but he has to soak every single plant every single week. It's a lot of work, but he also credits that with how great his success is growing Hoyas, that he, takes an individual plant, notices problems right away. I'm noticing a huge problem with this sphagnum moss and this siltepecano. But it's just that adaptability is just something to keep in mind. In that one environment, same grower, same plants, change the environment, he had to change everything. So anytime someone lays down a proclamation like I do that sphagnum moss sucks, it may be the perfect medium for someone else. I do not think this is worth the hassle. I really don't, unless you're putting it in a moss pole, which I also hate. I do not see the benefit of working with this. I didn't enjoy this propagation experiment, as I was saying, except for the Hoya, because it was very challenging to get especially the tree fern fiber and the sphagnum moss with this kind of plant, the epiprimnum. Well, this is a monstera, but you take my point. It was just really, really challenging. Didn't like it. So this one has a really good root. The leaf looks terrible though, but it's a good white strong root. And let's just see how dead. And the other thing I really have enjoyed about this interview, it's, you know, 3 very young people that are, you know, new to, also dead, to the hobby compared to a Doug Chamberlain, but he's clearly so enjoying their company and listening to what they have to recommend, specifically regarding root mealy bugs that he had been battling with and was just so despondent, and they recommended Pure Crop 1. And he used it, and he made a video about it eventually, about how great it worked. But, you know, it's just good to see somebody who was, at that time, 62 years old, listening to some 30-year-olds and taking their advice and having success with it. And it's just, you know, note to self, be a Doug Chamberlain and not so many of the middle-aged men I know who, they already know everything. No matter what you're talking about, they already know everything. There's nothing to add to the conversation because they already have the answer. Don't be that person. Look at that. Really nice. Would I want to do this? That's it though. That's what lived in the sphagnum moss. Would I want to do this for a whole bunch of cuttings of this though? Oh my God, no. I would lose my mind. You know, I'm a relatively patient person. You know, when I realized I didn't record the first hour that took me to record, it was just like, well, that's just how it goes. Get a drink of water, eat some potato chips, sit back down, and start the video again. But to deal with that in sphagnum moss, no, I'd be kicking the dog. Oh, sweetie, I'm just kidding. I would never kick you. Not on purpose. Another dead one. So let's just call that one fail. Just a flat out fail. Let's check the perlite, my tried and true. I wouldn't call this great success. This plant was, I think this plant was kind of, some of this plant is struggling. Monstera sultipicano, if you don't have one, has a tendency to get leaves that start yellowing very quickly. And it is the poster child of when people say, plants love to be root bound. Fill in whatever plant that is. Absolutely not. This thing gets root bound and it just starts killing itself off. And I'm saving this plant for another video entitled Dying to be Root Bound, because it doesn't look good. These roots look, you know, mediocre, not great. Yeah, they all look about like that. So 2 fails. I think maybe it's not going to be the medium's fault. It may just be this plant. Maybe this just needs a lot more time. I have propagated a bunch of Monstera sultipicano and they root fast and they root aggressively. So this is a bit of a surprise. I don't know, is it just tired? You tell me, I'm not really sure. This one looks good. So let's look at the tree fern fiber, which this cup of tree fern fiber probably costs twice as much as the size of the plant would cost. But hey, we're here to do an experiment, so let's see how it turned out. clear winner. An absolutely, positively clear winner. Tree fern fiber for the W. I'm not going to take it apart. I do happen to love this plant. So let's just put her back in there. And let's look at the fluval strat. You know what? I'm going to leave that alone and say we have another big winner here. So those look really, really good. It's unfortunate that it's the two most expensive substrates we have available here. Gosh, probably anywhere. I'm bringing you up to look at the water roots as well, and those look good. Now, they're very thin. Are they translucent? They aren't translucent, but they are very, very thin. So, aroids obviously a little different than Hoya. Hoya, if the roots are activated and they've got anything going on at all, you can get those planted. You can wait, but it's not necessary. I mean, given that you can take an unrooted cutting, put it into its permanent, whatever you grow in. I don't grow in any peat, so soilless mix, and have obviously superb luck. I have got to have, you know, 250, 225 propagations right now, and 90% of them are in cocoa peat, cocoa chip, and number 3 perlite. And oh, I'm so glad I remembered this. I had a viewer say to me, and then somebody else commented upon that comment, that they wished I had shown the bag of perlite. And they got it home, and I'm assuming some hilarity ensued because it's not a small bag of perlite. Let me grab that. So I have used up a lot of this perlite, and I fill up, I don't fill up, but I put a base in all of my prop boxes to keep them moist, and it helps keep the plants from moving around, so a lot of mine goes there. But this is the bag of perlite. So, be aware, share if you can't use it all. I'm ready to order another bag, but anyway, I'm glad that was up here and I finally remembered to do it. So, final thoughts on this? I'm going to keep doing what I've always done. And so it's going to be perlite and water for anything epiprimnum or philodendron, and it's going to be the soil when I can on Hoya. I'm sure that tree fern fiber has its place and people have had good luck with it. People are spending a lot of money to use it and they like it, so kudos. In terms of this, not impressed at all. I mean, yeah, the Monstera siltepecano grew well in it, but it also grew well in water, although, you know, water roots, and it grew just fine in the tree fern fiber. I don't know why it didn't grow well in the perlite. It should have. I've got a lot of experience doing it that way. Water, it's not just how quickly the roots are coming on that I would judge this by, but how well it will grow when I transfer it. And that is where this has let me down over and over and over again. Obviously, many of you have had experiences that don't reflect my experiences. I don't know what the difference is, and like I mentioned in the last video, I don't care. I don't care to learn. I don't care for tips and tricks because I'm not going to do it. Why I don't use water? These rooted out well, but my experience over and over and over again was that they do so poorly transferring into its permanent substrate. Now that's me. I know many of you will not have had that experience at all and swear by this, and it works for you, and I'm happy for you, but I'm not going to keep trying to do that. I will put that in perlite and water, or I guess I have this tree fern fiber that it apparently loves. But I would say my mind hasn't much been changed. For Hoya, I will continue to do it just as I've described it to you. As many in my soilless substrate as I can, and those that I don't think would do well in that, I will be putting in perlite and water. My mind hasn't changed on that. And then in terms of philodendron, epiprimnum, it's going to be the same. It's going to be perlite and water because that has been successful for me. And I didn't see, I mean, this is an outlier for sure, but that's out of what did we do, 5 variety plants, 6 variety of plants today? So that's not compelling enough for me to spend that kind of money. People are spending that kind of money and buying it, you know, in big bags and getting the economy of scale, but I have something that works. And so I didn't see results here that blew me away by any means. But light up the comments. I want to know what your experiences are too. I'm sure you've had some that are similar and some that may be very, very different from what I've reported. But always enjoy your comments, and I will see you again in the next one coming up real soon.